Leading from the heart, spiritual leadership and having a purpose is what I learned from founder of BOL Foods, Paul Brown. I could have talked to him all day about culture, building a legacy and building trust and creating mini entrepreneurs within his entrepreneurial business. Get your notepad, take some notes. This is a learner. Welcome to another episode of the Anything is Possible podcast. As you all know now, I love to interview brands I am seriously obsessed with. And today I'm with founder of BOL Foods, Paul Brown. You'll know BOL, it is a household name by now, but I'm going to hand over to Paul to tell you all about it.
Well, thanks for inviting me on the podcast, Holly. Super excited. So BOL Foods is a 100% plant-based food company. We started it in 2015. We make everything from delicious shakes and curries and salads and soups, and it's all 100% natural, no additives, no preservatives, no reds on the traffic lights, tastes amazing, looks amazing, and is net nutrient dense, and it sells in big and small shops all around the country.
But first, I want to take you back a little bit because your career in food started in another very well-known brand, Innocent. And I just said to you, the Innocent story was something that I listened to back in 2011 before I started my business. So tell us about your role there and your journey with Innocent.
So I guess my role at Innocent started after the company had been going in the early 2000s. I was essentially a failed sportsman. So I tried and failed to make it in football, rugby, and my last sporting attempt was in snowboarding. I was living out in California. I'd actually qualified as a snowboard instructor, and after about a week in, I injured myself pretty badly racing border cross. So I actually spent the best part of a year recuperating in Los Angeles at 21 years old. Wow. And at that age, I wrote a business plan to start a healthy food company, came back to Manchester, where I was from, was working in a cafe, ironically flipping burgers and making bacon and eggs and all that stuff, learning how to run an on-the-go restaurant, trying to raise funds, couldn't get the business going. And actually I was visiting a friend in London and tried one of the Innocent smoothies, and it said on the back, come visit us at Fruit Towers. So I quite literally went to Goldhawk Road, an industrial estate, and knocked on the door, met the three founders. They weren't selling up north at the time. Really? They filled up a van, one of the famous vans, the vans that looked like a fruit van, something like Dumb and Dumber. And I drove up to Manchester and started selling them out the back of a van. And that was the start of my journey at Innocent, which lasted 14 years. So when I joined the company, there was less than 10 of us and just selling in London. And I left, it was clearly a global brand, that hundreds of people work there, and I dropped out of university, but I think I landed in the best FMCG business school I could have ever dreamt of. Before
we move on to BOL, just what lessons, good and bad, do you feel that you learn at Innocent that you could wrap up and take away with you?
I mean, I could write a book on that. In fact, I might do that one day. What springs to mind? Two words spring to mind when you're asking me that: the people and the product. And I, over that 14 years, I was just amazed at how many people joined the business and gave so much. It didn't feel like work. It genuinely felt like a culture of working with your friends, and I put that largely down to the amazing three founders and the environment they created, where they had their big vision and purpose and values, and we all bought into it. And I felt a bit of an imposter, if I'm honest, because I was a university dropout, and most people there had been to very good universities and all got firsts and all got AAAs, and I felt slightly out of my depth on the intelligence front at times. What I realised was that stuff doesn't matter when you get into business. So much more is down to the attitude and the character and the grit and resilience and determination, all the stuff that my amazing parents, I won the parent lottery, had taught me. So I quickly got over that and made some friends for life at Innocent. So that's the people side of things. And then the product, we were just obsessed about trying to make the product as good as possible. So everything from the packaging to the fruit to all the different products that we made, and very much embraced the Kaizen, the Japanese proverb for continuous improvement. So never rested on our laurels, had these big ambitions to take the brand international, which we did. And I guess it's chapter 2 now, doing it under my own volition. But it was an incredible experience, and I felt very lucky to have been part of that team.
So you said that when you were in California, you wrote a business plan way back when.
Yeah.
So when did the ideas for BOL start to bubble? I imagine they were just like, you said that entrepreneurial spirit was still there. Had you been, keeping your eye on the market and what you thought?
Yeah, I mean, back in the late 90s when I wrote that business plan, it was, for all intents and purposes, to start a Leon, Pod, Itsu. None of these places were around for the younger listeners. So I'd been inspired by the Californian lifestyle of keeping yourself fit, making smoothies, fruit, vegetables, eating good, healthy food on the move. And I just felt that there wasn't that type of opportunity if you were busy, if you're traveling around the country. So my idea was to do something in the restaurant game. My dad started the first ever wine bar in Manchester. My mum was involved in catering. So that was kind of what I knew. After spending all of the time at Innocent, I mean, I didn't even know what FMCG meant. I had no idea about that industry. But obviously, after we worked there for years and years and years, I guess I went from doing the food service restaurant type idea to, I can create a brand. And so a lot of what was in that original business plan is now in BOL.
Wow.
But clearly, when I moved into, for those people that don't know, Innocent did a range of, as I mentioned earlier, veg pots, which is similar to one of the parts of our portfolio now. So the way I look at it is I'd been running a part of the business that in 2008 to 2015, I was then going to get the opportunity to go and replicate and try and make even better under my own brand. So as with most things in life, there's ridiculous amounts of luck. But that was the structure which led to where we are now.
Yeah. So talk us through, you found BOL. What are the first roles that you created? Talk to us about that. Who was your team?
Well, I've never been blessed with the most mathematical of brains. So I realised I needed to get a numbers person right from the off. So unbeknown to Rich, Adam and John, the Innocent founders now running Jam Jar Investments, I'd written a business plan. They're friends of mine now, and I'd written a business plan, and they were the first people I went to ask for investment in the brand. And
amazing.
They said they were going to invest, and they have invested. But John, his first bit of advice to us was make sure you get a numbers person around. I mean, I can add up. I'm pretty good at mental arithmetic, but I was definitely not. So my business partner is a guy called Ed Dugwid. He's a qualified accountant. He didn't drop out of university. He went to Procter & Gamble. He worked at Innocent and did a great job there. So, and he leads the finance and operational side of the business.
Another thing that I've heard that you talk about is that you encourage uncomfortable conversations as part of your feedback process.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So, as we all know, feedback is a gift, and we've got a 5-minute feedback culture at BOL, and it's so much of I believe the culture in a business is driven by the trust and the quality of the relationships people have, and having that psychological safety, and it's hard to build that up. It's quite hard to get your head around, but I believe if your intentions are good to have these difficult conversations, whether it's in your personal or professional life, it's got to be worth having, because that builds up the trust.
Is that something you set out from the beginning? Is that part of your brand values? Is it part of the induction? It's like, this is how we do things here.
100%. Yeah, we have reviews every 12 weeks. So a line manager will sit down with whoever in their team, and they will have collated some feedback. They'll sit down. We've got a set of responsibilities that everyone's obviously individually has, and something called OKRs, or objective and key results. So each week each individual writes their objective and key results for the week. So it's what their key goal is, a reluctant goal, so like a gremlin, and then a champagne goal. And then there's also something about what they celebrate from the previous week.
So I know culture is massively important to you, and even dealing with your team on the run up to the podcast, like I can feel the culture, which is amazing. How have you developed that remotely? Because my business has been an office first business, even post COVID. So I'm always really interested in that. How have you developed it like remotely, the culture?
The team generally come in 3-4 days a week. So we have been together most of the 8 years we've been running BOL. I mean, the culture, I think the culture's just got better and better over the years. I feel in the early years, because we really didn't have any money and we had big ambitions and a lot to do, I don't think I was a great leader in the early days. I think I recruited people who were amazing, but I probably chucked too much responsibility their way and had expectations that were too big, and it became a little bit of a pressure cooker, and certain people burnt out or couldn't handle it. And I don't really live with regrets, but I definitely feel I could have done a much better job in the early days. I was definitely feeling the pressure with a mortgage to pay and jump ship from a really safe, high-paying job to something. I mean, it took me years and years and years before I was taking home anything like what I was in my full-time job, which is, I guess, normal for an entrepreneur. But now I feel we've got to a point where I've got so many high-performing individuals who I'm empowering to take responsibility. We've got really clear values at BOL. So we've got 5 values: family, ownership, growth, excellence, and legacy. And each one of those words has been cultivated and written by the existing team, and we've got them on our wall that are there and we refer to all of the time. So we recruit against those values. We then give feedback against those values. Everybody knows what they're signing up for. I don't see the family, the first one. I don't see, life. I'm quite philosophical about life. There's one life. There isn't like your work life and your personal life. Of course, they're separate, but I want people to treat each other more like a band of brothers and sisters as opposed to like corporate colleagues. And that starting point of creating more of a family culture sets the platform for everything. So even in the tough times, I think, and we've had a lot of those recently, I feel our culture has been better than ever because there is a lot of love and respect across the team. We've got a big vision at BOL. We want to become the #1 naturally plant-powered food brand on the planet. We have a deep-rooted purpose to inspire the world to eat more plants. It isn't a business that we're making that we're just trying to make more vegan food for more vegans. We're doing 100% plant-based food that hopefully is loved by lots of different people. We genuinely want to be a business that's a force for good. We're often making sacrifices. So I believe in the triple bottom line. So of course, if it's a business, you need to be trying to make profit, but there's a much bigger legacy impact there that you can have on people and planet. If you entwine all of those things together, you get a business that, obviously we're a B Corp and a business that is different to most other businesses. If we're getting people into the team that themselves are probably making sacrifices, they might be getting paid more elsewhere at bigger companies, or they might have to work more hours at BOL, or they might have to not have as much security being with a smaller business, certainly in the earlier years. They need to buy into all of that stuff, otherwise they can't get through the tough times and the pressure. So for me, it starts right at the beginning. How much do people really want it and bring it? And if they're delivering the results and bringing the energy and hopefully really enjoying it and feeling like they're growing or fulfilled, and they've got that integrity, like I talked about at the beginning, about that honesty and transparency, then the trust just naturally builds. It's exactly the same in the workplace as it is in the personal life. We don't I don't believe we have like a heart and a soul and a brain that goes, okay, right, I'm now in my personal life. How do we build trust together? Like it's the same principles. So it's special. I can feel it. I even said to the team yesterday morning at the end of the Super Bowl meeting, I'm starting to do this thing where, have you heard about it? This Neil Pasricha.
No.
So you're only awake for 1,000 minutes a day,
right?
Give or take the average person. And what he's saying is you've got this 2-minute window as soon as you wake up, where that's really the only time of the day that you're not being influenced by external factors. So you've not looked at your phone yet, you've not put the news on. So you've got this kind of fresh start to every day, if you like. And you've got something in your brain called an amygdala, which is a tiny, like almond-sized shaped part of your brain, which is all about fight or flight. And generally, we're always like, it's why we spend more time looking at negative stuff on the news or people rubberneck on a motorway. We're attracted to negative stuff sometimes. So this thing that he's encouraged us to do, and I've started doing it, and I'm now getting the team to do it, is like, I'm grateful for, and you write it down what you're grateful for. I will let go of, and you write down what you will let go of, and I am going to focus on, and do that right at the beginning of every single day, 2 minutes exactly. So I've been doing it, and I'm really, really loving it. I don't have time to journal. I do have time to journal. I just don't journal. I've not prioritized it just yet. But this is like this tiny, quick thing that can just, you know, it can get you on the right track. And at the end of talking with the team yesterday morning, I said to the team, I've enjoyed my time at BOL over the last few weeks more than I have for years and years and years. We're just building up to a huge summer. We've got new products we're launching, really exciting marketing campaigns, and just the energy I'm feeling across the team is better than ever. So I just gave the whole team feedback. I'm just so grateful for everything they're bringing into the veg pad every single day, because it does genuinely feel like I'm working with a group of mates, and that's
what you dreamt of, really.
Yeah, that's what I've dreamt of. It isn't always like that, so the universe is delivering at this moment in time, so I'm going to enjoy it and try and live in the present as much as possible.
Do you think they all kind of feel like, I don't know, like, you know, you're very established now? Is it kind of a feeling of, we have got this, like, we are going places? Like, is it that kind of feeling?
No. It's because, and that's the difference, isn't it? The difference between success and happiness. I believe that happiness comes from the inside out, and success is external and you being validated from the outside. And what you're saying to me now, I'm interpreting from that is, which I'm taking very, very, it feels super special. You're using the words like a household brand, or you're so successful. I still see us as a little startup, and my inside is not content with anything. And I know that there's sharks swimming all around us at any moment in time. It can just go. So no, we've definitely got more of that Street Fighter spirit, where we're feeling more startup than established. And I don't think that's going to go for a long, long time. It's a tough old world out there. Obviously, over the last few years, there's so many things that I put in, like the circle of stuff you can personally influence, and then the circle of stuff that you have no control of, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the war in Ukraine, whether it's the political situation, Brexit, cost of living crisis, all that. We have, as an individual, we have absolutely no control of that. The impact that can have on us is obviously, as individuals and collectives, is huge. At any moment in time, any of those things could have a hugely detrimental impact, and has on the brand over the years. So zero resting laurels, but I think it's a balance. I don't want everyone to come into work bricking it that I'm going to have to let them go at the end of the week because things are so tough. But at the same time, I don't want people coming in relaxed and, not having any concern for, having to grind it out. So it's getting that balance, which I think we've got at the moment.
I'm always really shocked when I do speak to household brands or names, and you assume they're so polished and slick and confident, behind the scenes. So it's actually quite reassuring and humbling to hear you say you still got that startup mentality some of the time, because I think that makes everyone feel a bit more, aligned with you.
It just makes me think of the swan. We are definitely paddling under the water and giving this air of calmness above, but it's paddle.
Oh. And you've talked about as well, you like to motivate people to show their entrepreneurial spirit. And I wonder, how do you do that and make, because I would love to learn off you from this, how do you make people feel entrepreneurial if they're not a director or a shareholder? How do you do that for them?
So if someone, I encourage people in the team, if someone's 70% sure about something, then just do it.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I felt like an entrepreneur when I was an employee at Innocent for 14 years. I was empowered to take responsibility and go for it. And so for me, I think there's a bit of a misnomer around what an entrepreneur is, because I see my team as a collective of entrepreneurs. And I say to them one day, you may well go on and start your own business. But use this opportunity to be your own boss and do things your way. And of course, there's certain decisions I'll need to make that I'm not going to leave for somebody else to make. But I find myself a lot in meetings nowadays saying, I'm an inputter or I'm a recommender. This decision should get made by somebody else. So it's as a CEO, I need to concentrate on the elements that I need to be involved in, decisions that I need to make, and I need to consistently be pushing things, opening up to the team for them to take the responsibility. I see myself working for the team as much as they are working for me. And I think the team feel that. The team don't feel micromanaged, and the team do love taking responsibility on stuff. So I think that comes through back to what you're talking about building the trust and being clear on what the goals are, and then encouraging people to go out there and own it. The team have 25 days paid holiday a year, but they can take as many holidays as they want. So they can have that unlimited holidays. We have finish early Friday. Obviously there is that hybrid working where people can work wherever they want. Like, I feel in this day and age, one of the great things that's come post the pandemic, people are a little bit more kind of pause and reflect, and a bit more conscious of their own time and protecting it. So I love that. I'm really trying to harness that and galvanize that. If people can get the job done in a shorter amount of time, or so it gives them more time for whatever it is that they want to be doing, then I'm actively encouraging them to do that. I'm a big one on fitness. I know you used to say, obviously at the beginning, you've just done your Barry's class. I did my Peloton first thing this morning, and I might have an F45 this evening. We work next to a beautiful canal in Paddington, next to Hyde Park, encouraging people to get outside, have walking meetings, like less time looking at your phone and your computer screen, like really, just being at one with nature. And I think that can get, I think we can sometimes get a bit too corporate in let's all sit in a meeting room and spend hours and hours and hours sweating the small stuff. Like that's just not going to help you be as entrepreneurial as you want to be.
Yeah, agreed. So you've talked about the tough times, of which is hit food, retail. Talk to us about that and where you're at the moment with that.
So the tough times over the last few years, I mean, for us, it started largely with Brexit. Yeah. As a brand, we make, as a British brand, we make everything we make on this little island. Yeah. Over 70% of our ingredients are sourced within 30 miles of the site. So most of our production happens up in Boston, Lincolnshire. That's where most of the grade 1 soil in the UK is. The stark reality of Brexit is the labour, the availability of labour to do the farming and the harvesting and that's been somewhat decimated, and the cost of each ingredient has gone through the roof. So in this inflationary market, dealing with all of that has been really, really tough. And then it was compounded by obviously the pandemic the pandemic hurt us for two key reasons. First one being most of the people that enjoy BOL each day are busy young professionals or students and they grab and go, and then secondly our second biggest retailer was Costa Coffee, as an example.
Right.
And at the time, and then they shut all their shops. So, I mean, not getting the violin out, because I think everyone's got their own cross to bear with whether it is Brexit or whether it is the pandemic, but very specifically to your questions, it's just those two massive events have meant we've got to be even more entrepreneurial with how we do things. And the list of things that we've done it's a really, really long list, and probably be boring for your listeners for me to go through. But having a growth mindset through these times, I think, has been absolutely critical, and talk a lot as a team about that, and how seeing these tough times as growth opportunities. And I'm loving the fact that it's so normal to speak in that kind of way now. You started speaking like this a few years ago, people have been, think you've turned into a Buddha or something. But I actually think it's a real simple change that you can have that makes a huge difference. And we massively embraced the growth mindset through those tough times, and it helped us be a little bit more philosophical about things and get to a much better, happier place.
And how would you sum up your version of a growth mindset?
Seeing every experience you have as an opportunity to learn and get better. In those moments where we're feeling the pain and pressures of life, we're actually growing, and that experience that might feel pretty torturous at the time may well serve to support us and help us or get through something in the future, or help somebody else out. So it's just trying to have that growth mindset. And I don't know, I'm 44 years old, and I can't remember a time in history where humanity has been challenged in my lifetime so consecutively over the last few years. I mean, freaking being told you've got to be in your house the whole time or 23 hours a day. I mean, WTF, it just, that came from nowhere, right? And everything that's gone on. So, I'm a big believer.
And I'm sat with you now, you're very upbeat, quite spiritual, quite deep, really great vibe off you. Were there any times that you did think, I'm just giving this up, I can't do it? Did you have any of those moments?
Yes.
Really?
I over the last 8 years, the sacrifices that you make, there's definitely times when I've been pushed to the brink of thinking, either by my own decision of pulling the plug or somebody else's. Like, financially, we've sailed pretty close to the sun, where when we dropped meat, fish and dairy, we're half the size of the business. And I said to each of the team, I said, brush up your CVs, we might not survive this, but we'll get through it one way, shape or form, as individuals or, as a team working together. So of course, I think it'd be a lie for most entrepreneurs to say they've not thought, can I get through this? But I've been taught from a very early age, I've got a lot of grit and resilience in me and determination. And I think that's where it comes back to the higher purpose. And I don't want to come across all evangelical talking about it, but I genuinely believe that we can be a business and a brand that does stand the test of time. So I'll have those moments of weakness and concern, but I very, very quickly zig and zag and put it to one side and crack on again. And that's the job as the leader of the business. Most of the time, I've got to be trying to inspire people to get through that and not think too much of my own situation. When I started BOL, I think I'd sleep 5-6 hours a night, max. And if I'm honest, I probably saw that as a bit of a badge of honor. And now I'm like, what was I doing? I'm pretty obsessed now. I try and get 8 hours.
Do you?
Yeah.
Can you manage it?
Well, not with 3 kids, one of them being an 11-month-old baby. But I try where possible to get a lot more rest to recuperate
yeah.
more than I used to. I've got non-negotiables around my fitness and doing some form of exercise every single day. I drink less than I used to. I party less than I used to. I've made certain decisions in my life that mean I'm set up better to take on those tough times.
Yeah.
And I'm so my wife wouldn't listen to me in a podcast, obviously. Bored of listening to me all day long anyway. But I think, as a team, I think definitely feeling stronger now than those early years where I was learning the job, right?
Yeah.
It was my first experience of being responsible for everything, and I think now I've got healthier ways to expend energy.
Yeah, and you know how you can bring more value to the business when you're looking after the other things as well, don't you?
Exactly. You can't look after anybody else if you're not looking after yourself.
Yeah.
And I think again, it's getting widely written about and spoken about nowadays. Having that self-love is pretty crucial to getting through life.
I know that you're a massive believer in vision, purpose, and why you're doing something. And you've talked about writing a business plan. And let's say there's people listening that have got this, idea or whatever. Talk us through that process, that questioning yourself as to what your purpose is, because I know that's really been important for you.
Yeah, I think it's lots of us sit around with friends and talk about a product or a service that we think would be a great idea, and a big business idea or something. And I actively encourage people to do that and play with it and prototype the idea and get excited about it. But fundamentally, if you can create a business that has something bigger than the product or service itself and has a wider impact, that I passionately believe in sustainable capitalism. I believe that capitalism is here to stay, but I don't believe that capitalism in the sense of what has been in the past needs to be the future. So capitalism in the past for me was more about a small group of people making as much money as possible and don't really give a shit about what happens to the people involved or the impact it has on the planet. It's all about now, a bit like Pac-Man, for the people that remember that. I now believe that actually you can have a bottom line. You can be a profitable business that has a real impact on people and planet as well. So I think the why is rooted in a bigger impact beyond just profit. For me, it's the impact it has on people's health. It's the impact it has on the planet. So we as a business, we've donated our first few years of profits to charity, the Action Against Hunger charity. Every single year we donate tens and tens of thousands of pounds. Even when we're not profitable, we have donated hundreds of thousands of meals. We've chosen to do this because we believe that the business can have an impact bigger than just the financials. That type of model now is becoming more normalised, and that's what the whole B Corp principle is based upon. It's having this kind of higher state of consciousness, if you like, and I'm loving the fact that it's becoming normalised. I believe that most of the talent that's or lots of the talent that's coming through schools and universities now, this is normal for them. They sit around and talk about climate change or the vegan movement or all of this stuff. It's just amazing. And I think that can lead to a better future. I mean, one of my heroes is Yvon Chouinard, the founder of Patagonia. His book, Let My People Surf, is absolutely amazing. So what I'm trying to do now is not new. People have done it time and time again before me, but I just think there's more and more people now trying to create businesses that have a deeper rooted purpose, and it helps you attract the best talent. It helps you retain the best talent. It helps you enjoy being in business more. I'm just never really been a big one on money yet, but I'm like, and if that's what it's all about, then I can't see that being overly exciting.
I listened to a podcast actually the other day with the founder of Too Good To Go, And she was saying that she is very much the argument of we're doing good and charitable work, but we are a business and we will make profit, that kind of balance. And that's actually nothing to be ashamed of. We can do good and still make a profit and be a profitable business.
Totally. It's the law of economics. You need to certainly be aiming to make some profit so that you can then pump it back into building the brand. Like I said at the beginning, I've got global ambitions for BOL. I really believe that we can take the brand international, and that's only going to work if it works on this little island. But that doesn't mean that you can do that at the behest of everything else. That's not success.
So you talked about sacrificing a lot. Have you got any regrets?
I think I touched on them earlier. I started BOL in 2015, and in that 1 year moved down from Manchester to London with a pregnant wife, and I don't think in those early years I was a good father. I think I wasn't around that much, and I don't think when I was there I was as present and supportive as I could have and should have been. So I don't really live with regret, but I'm more looking at it as that was a learning experience for me, and I've now got an 11-month-old baby, Riley Brown, who
cute.
So this morning I was up at 6 and straight on the Peloton as quickly as possible because I knew I was coming here and I wanted to really be on point for this. And the Peloton ended with me finishing, and my 7 and 9-year-old, I'd taken my earplugs out and I was listening to dance music, and they were dancing around the kitchen as was my 11-month-old baby, and it was a magical moment, and that didn't really happen for me in the early years because I would have been up out the door. I would have been like, nah, I'm all about BOL today. So I'm just trying to get that balance in my life where I'm having I'm having more time for my family and my friends, and I'm trying to live with better intentions and being a bit less selfish. And I'm totally work in progress. I'm miles away from where I want to be, but it's a long-winded way of answering your question. Do I have regrets? No. Can I learn from probably being a bit of a schmuck a few years ago and be a lot better? Yes. Yeah,
and that's the growth mindset, of course, as well. So, just a couple more questions for you because I could talk to you all day. How is your week then? Just I'm always really super interested in somebody's week. Is there much structure to it? You've talked about non-negotiables with fitness. Talk to us about that week. How does that, how is that for you?
So for me, I heard this expression a while back that discipline is freedom, and it almost sounds a bit of an oxymoron. But that. I am trying to be more disciplined. So most of my meetings happen on a Monday and Tuesday. Yeah. So quite back to back on Mondays and Tuesdays. Wednesdays a completely meeting free day. So I can be anywhere. It's complete thinking time. It gives it, and I started doing this a couple of years ago, and it's an absolute game changer for me. Thursday I'm always in the veg pad, but less kind of meetings, a bit more freedom, but I'm definitely available for the rest of the team. And then, like I said earlier, it's Fridays, a finish early Friday, but again, I like to be in the veg pad most of the time. So that's the kind of headline structure on each week. But we've got an F45 right next to our work. So less people in the team do it now because there's a gym that's just opened up next door that's really, really cheap. So people move from F45. But I try to do fitness at lunchtime most days with the team, training together as many people as possible. And like I said, either seeing the family first thing in the morning or trying to get home to put them to bed and read to them in the evening. Because I used to think my job is 24/7, 365 days of the year. And I kind of still feel like that in a way, but I can still achieve that and take that responsibility on without being so contactable. I think that's part of the problem with this day and age. We are so available all of the time. And this expression the other day, I think we've become like phoneaholics. Like it's really quite unhealthy. So it's more about just trying to have the discipline to give me the freedom to be the best version of myself, whether it is as a CEO or as a father, as a husband, as a son, as a friend. Like I need to put that discipline in my life, otherwise I'm just chaos.
Yeah. Let's get everybody's taste buds going. Talk us through the BOL product range. I was trying the new power shake the other day. Just get everybody going with what you sell and what.
Well, we're now kind of available breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacking. So if I go chronological, if you had I got stopped by a dad at school the other day who said, "You're the BOL guy," and I was like, "Well, I work at BOL, but and he said, and he looks quite a fit guy. Yeah. He said, "I've been on the BOL diet." Okay, and he's just made that up. We've never marketed a BOL diet, but he just told me he's lost 10 kilograms.
Wow.
10, which is like obviously a ridiculous amount. He said he struggled with his weight for years, and we are so not a diet brand. Let me just put this out there again. But why I've got to talking about this now, you asking the question, is he said he's tried loads of other things, but it really works for him because it's everything. High protein, high fiber, beans, pulses, all of that stuff. And he has a power shake, which you said is 100% whole food, nutritionally complete meal. Yeah. We've got like peanut butter and chocolate. We've got vanilla, oats and almond. Here first, we've got a beautiful salted caramel about to launch in a few weeks' time. But it's almost like you get Vice and Virtue in the same bottle because it is super good for you. But also tastes banging as well. And we've got our super soups, which are some of our best sellers at the moment. Then we've got our veg pots, the original range. So the kind of Thai coconut curry. And again, one of my biggest positives is when someone writes into us and says to us, "Oh, I've fed," usually it's a girl saying they've fed it to their boyfriend or husband or something, and they say, and he really enjoyed it. And then I told him it was vegan. And he blew his mind. He was like, "Whoa, I thought vegan tastes crap," and what have you. So we've then got that range as well. But we've not stopped. Like we're working in the background. I'd love us to do a chilled snacking range. We only do stuff in chilled at the moment. So we've got nothing in ambient, nothing in frozen. But never said never. Never say never. So I mean it's I don't want this to sound like a sales pitch to all your listeners, but like I said, we're in the Tesco, Sainsbury's, Waitrose and Planet Organics and all these types of places, and you get it on Ocado. And I mean, for me, it's a delicious range of, like, everybody should cook from scratch as much as possible. But if you don't have time, then it's a no compromise solution. I can guarantee it's been made with love and tastes absolutely banging. People should check out. He's called Tim Spector. Nutritionists have been talking about the variety of plants that we've obviously been part of that generation that was told 5 a day is the key, and that is still really, really important. But we're obviously learning about the microbiome and gut health at the moment. So much that we still don't know. But he's really banging the drum for 30 plants and variety of plants being key to obviously feed all your good bacteria. And we have a huge variety of plants in everything that we make. So I think, definitely actively encourage people to get as many different plants into the diet as possible. Yeah.
So coming to the close of the podcast, something you've said in the past is you have one life, smash it, enjoy the ride. Tell the worriers and the anxious people out there how to apply this principle to their life.
Wow, that's deep. I think it kind of I find I'm not very religious, so I'm in awe of people that are very religious and really happy and content because they've got this higher state of purpose and belief, and it's like amazing. That's how they live their life, and that's great. And then for the rest of us, I think I'm spiritual, and I believe I'm a big fan of plants in every single way, and I think they're gonna change the world in many different ways over the next few decades. But for me, life and happiness is so much just down to building up lots of little things, little experiences that you have. What's most important to you, focusing your time where possible on that stuff, looking after yourself first. Like I said earlier in the podcast, I think I've only just recently started doing it, but if for 2 minutes of every single day you can write down, what you're grateful for, what you're going to let go of, and then obviously what you're focusing on for the day, then over a year, you're going to have a lot of notes to look back on and stuff that you're great. And it doesn't need to be the big things. So I walked to this podcast down the Thames this morning, and I just listening to the birds and seeing the water, and just grateful to be alive and just living on this beautiful planet, which I love to bits. And it was like, I'm writing down what I'm let go of, which as we've got always probably got stuff in our heads that we need to let go. It was relationship problems or stuff that's festering inside. If we can just start to be more present and really focus on the stuff that is gonna make us happy, I think that. But doing that each day rather than putting huge pressure on ourselves. I believe having big goals is really, really helpful most of the time. But actually, I think they can be pretty unhelpful sometimes when people are looking at social media or whatever, and they're looking at whether it's fitness people or they're looking at all these people that are plastering all over the shop how successful their lives are. And it makes us feel pretty small, and sometimes can add to that self-loathing that I think can come through with social media nowadays. But so I think it's more just about trying to be at one with oneself rather than being comparing. I think comparison is the root of all unhappiness. So concentrating on here now and oneself rather than everyone else, I think it's a good start.
We've just had Sophie Louise Hughes on the podcast, who's a curve model, and she says something really good about social media. She said there is no one she follows that causes her any anxiety. If they do at all, she just deletes them. She said so her Instagram is pure joy to her because everything she's following is stuff she loves. And I thought that's such a nice way to look at it, if you can.
That's amazing and a much better articulation than mine.
So this is the Anything is Possible podcast. Please tell us, Paul, what does anything is possible mean to you?
Anything is possible. It's kind of this one life smash it mentality that I've had all my life. I've failed so many things. It is a ridiculously long list, and my mates take the rip out of me a lot when someone writes about X this or X that. But I just failure is an opportunity to learn, and I wouldn't quite go as far as saying it's a gift, because as an entrepreneur it sucks because it costs an absolute fortune to get things wrong. But I have learned through failure that anything is possible, because a game-changing moment for me was walking through those doors at Fruit Towers at this fledgling smoothie company, Innocent Drinks, and knocking on the door, and that was a sliding doors moment for me. But that came off the back of failed at rugby, failed at football, failed at university, failed at snowboarding. Like, it was one thing after another. And as I was in the back of that cafe, 21 years old, flipping burgers and making people, loads of corporate people, breakfast, I was like, what has my life come to? I'm like a complete loser. But managed, a bit of luck came my way, and I just think if people just keep searching and keep pushing for what they want, the universe will deliver. So don't give up and enjoy the ride.
Wow, Really, you are such an interesting, spiritual, deep person. I've loved our conversation. I believe we're going off to VegPad now. I'm hoping there's going to be some bowl food I can try over there. Listen, thank you for taking the time, and best of luck with scaling it to a global brand. I have no doubt you'll do it.
Thank you very much. Respect.